In the 90s, it seemed that just about every horror icon from the 30s and 40s was being remade or reimagined. We had a new Dracula, a new Frankenstein, a new Mr. Hyde, even The Mummy was reimagined, though not as a horror movie. So, of course, there had to be a modern Wolfman type of movie. Even if it was not actually a remake, it was based on an original screenplay, and there were still Howling sequels coming out every once in a while. Wolf just came around the time when this was happening. However, what makes this interesting is due to it not being a remake, it takes place in modern contemporary America. The basic premise of it is a modern businessman becomes a werewolf. Jack Nicholson plays Will, an editor-in-chief for a powerful book publishing firm who is overall a nice guy. He's driving in Vermont and he hits a wolf with his car, which is unusual as there shouldn't be wolves in Vermont, something people point out to him quite regularly. As he tries to help the animal, it revives and bites him before running off. Instead of being a traditional werewolf in this movie, it seems the wolf had transferred part of its spirit into him, and instead of just turning him into a full-on wolfman, he gradually gains more wolf-like characteristics, which at first seems to be an abundance of confidence, increased senses, and different appetites when it comes to both food and sex. This works out pretty well for him as he's just lost his job due to a billionaire taking over the company, and his protege betrays him to usurp his position. But his newfound confidence and ruthlessness has him expose the man, including the fact that he had been banging Will's wife, whom he leaves. He retakes his job back with some added perks. Now that he's newly single, he also starts chatting up the billionaire mogul's sexy daughter, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who initially doesn't seem very interested, but he does become a lot more interesting as time goes by. However, this comes with a price, as at night he becomes more animalistic and prone to violence, and he goes on both rural and urban hunting trips that he doesn't remember in the morning. He's a werewolf, but they never mention this term in the film, and even when he's fully transformed, he's pretty much still recognizable as a person, just a little bit hairier with bigger teeth and lots of agility and strength. He winds up passing the wolf spirit on to others, which complicates what was already a problem, as he believes he may be hurting people at night. I have to admit, I never saw Wolf back in the 90s, and I pretty much avoided the movie until this feature. And I have to say, this was a huge mistake. This was an excellent film. Not because of its unique take on werewolves, but due to its strong performances and really excellent dialogue. You don't get a sense of this being a horror movie, despite it being one, because it ignores horror film tropes and cliches, and has the characters talk like real people. It has the typical werewolf movie's slow pace, but it works perfectly as you see the change take hold of him slowly over time and affect his decisions. The movie has enough action to keep you excited, but it shies away from excessive gore. Seeing some severed fingers is as bad as it gets, and it does the job of delivering chills through psychological means. Especially given the fact that the film establishes that the wolf spirit is not evil by its nature. It bonds with a human who may be evil or may not be evil. Will is not evil, he's a benevolent person by nature, though he passes it on to other people, and some of them are not so nice. He becomes more ruthless and savvy in the business world, but he's horrified at the thought that he might have killed anyone, and he chains himself to prevent any harm coming to someone that he cares about. The dialogue is smart and fresh, and the best part of the movie. I have to say, this one was a real pleasure to watch, mostly due to finding that the delicate balance between being smart and being entertaining, which horror movies can struggle with. It's due to the fact that it's easy for a horror movie to be entertaining, but it's so difficult for them to be smart and entertaining. Nicholson and Pfeiffer are great, but I have to praise everyone else. Christopher Plummer, David Hyde Pierce, the entire cast was great. The movie never got a sequel, and it really doesn't need one, despite 2 werewolf characters surviving at the end, I won't say who, but we really don't need a Wolf 2, as it told the story that it needed to, in the way that it needed to. I give this one high praise, and I have nothing negative to say about it at all, so I gotta give it a 10. I bet you might have started to think there wouldn't be any 10s this year, huh? Well, there you go.